Swim Things in Blue Springs, your one-stop shop for all things swim. Pools, spas, patio furniture, swimwear, and accessories. Visit them in Blue Springs or at www.swimthings.com.
I went on a recruiting trip and I got off the plane and I was like, wow, this is where I want to be. Obviously, the academics are great here. I was able to get a really nice academic scholarship as well, and I loved my academic advisor. I'm studying civil engineering, and that was a huge thing. Finding a civil engineering program that also has swimming and diving is really hard to do. So that attracted me a lot.
Thanks, everybody, for being here today on The Journey. Hundreds of student athletes in the United States have been affected by the recent announcements that swimming and diving teams would be removed from the rosters at several Division I universities. Delaney Phillips, who is now a sophomore at Boise State University, is one of those people, and she is here now on The Journey. Thanks for being here today, Delaney.
Of course, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
So let's start with the announcement that women's swimming and diving, as well as baseball, was going to be cut from the athletic department roster at Boise State. How did you find out about it?
Well, there was an email sent out around 8 a.m. That morning. It was like July 3rd or July 2nd, and I was actually in the pool that morning, so I didn't find out until it was publicly released at like 10 in the morning. And I just remember getting out of the pool and seeing a text from my mom that she was going to be at practice in 5 minutes. My program got cut, and I just instantly started bawling. I was absolutely devastated. I love Boise State. It's my home. And I was getting calls from all my teammates. I'm really good friends with all the baseball players as well. And so it was just a really sad day for Bronco Nation.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, like you said, it was announced July 1st. Was there any indication before that this announcement might have been coming? There was a possibility that the team might be cut?
No, we were getting emails from the athletic department every month pretty much saying that they were doing everything that they could to keep all the programs. They weren't going to cut sports. That was in a direct email from our athletic director, Kurt Apsey. They were putting coaches on furlough, and they were literally doing everything they could to save programs, and it just came out of nowhere that our program was cut. Nobody saw it coming. My coach had no idea. Christina Van Tol, our wonderful assistant athletic director, she's the wife of the men's baseball coach, and she had no idea as well. So wow. I think it was an upper decision only.
I think this is something that we're hearing a lot from other swimming and diving teams is, they were getting so much support before it, and then it seemed like almost the next day they're getting this big announcement. So I don't think you're alone in that at all. That day that you found out, talk about what the atmosphere was like among the swimming team in terms of how you were all taking the news collectively and what you felt the next step could be.
Well, we had a Zoom meeting 2 or 3 hours after the news was dropped, and I don't think a single person talked for the first 45 minutes of the Zoom meeting. We were just all in shock. A lot of people were crying. My coach was crying. I was crying. They basically told us that the next step was to leave and to transfer, that they weren't handing out hardship waivers. There was no opportunities to redshirt. If we wanted to continue swimming, we were going to have to continue swimming somewhere else other than Boise State, which wasn't great to hear 3 hours after we got cut a month before we're supposed to go to college. So it was very stressful, obviously, and lots of my teammates had transferred, but a few of us decided to stay, obviously. But I mean, it was not good.
Right. And you weren't the first swimming and diving team to get this announcement. There were other teams, especially like East Carolina University and Connecticut, I think were announced before you guys. When you heard about those teams being cut, did it ever cross your mind, even for just a millisecond, that you were like, oh, I will this happen to us?
No, because we had such a great season last year. Like, we didn't do as well in our conference as we wanted to, and that was obviously because coaching changes, and we were kind of filtering out the people from our old coach Kip, and we were finally going to have a whole team that was recruited by Christine. But we had the most people go to NCSAs, the National Invitational in Ohio. We had like 14 girls qualify. A ton of us went best times. We were going to US Open. We were making national times. One of my teammates, Anna E, she swims for Aruba. She like has the fastest time in Aruba and like has the potential to maybe go to the Olympics. Like, we have good girls on the team. So I never thought that, especially upcoming on an Olympic year, that they would cut a sport that so many girls have Olympic trials qualifying times and have the potential to make Boise State like a place for swimmers.
Absolutely. Now, some of these other teams that I've mentioned have been trying to raise some money to fill the budget holes that is what causing these teams to be canceled. Is this something that you're able to do at Boise State?
I actually set up something. I was the first person on my team to really kind of rally the team to fundraise. I started like a Google form sheet just for pledges on what people would donate, and we got a huge response from the community. Like, Albertsons was willing to donate to save our program, and we honestly had all of the money raised to save our program. And our president, the dean of students, she said no. So we had interviews with Governor Little. We had Simplot. We had Albertsons. We had a ton of people all over the country willing to donate to save Boise State, and nothing happened. So.
Well, that's just so interesting. Why do you think that the administration that had basically you presented them money, which every university would love to be able to have the community give them money to
Yeah.
make something happen? Why do you think they just flat out said no?
I think that they think it's a dying, like, I mean, everybody says swimming's a dying sport. And like, yes, we could raise money for 1 year, but I don't think they saw the future of like what we could do. Like, we could raise money every single year. Obviously COVID this year, nobody's traveling. So it's a cheap year to swim. We also didn't have the facilities on campus that were necessary to house a great swim team, but we have a wonderful pool downtown that's like a YMCA pool that's got, an astronomical amount of lanes, 50 meters, and they were willing to house us. Like, so, I mean, we covered all the stops. My coach was willing to take a 75% pay cut in her salary, and they still said no. I think they just have another agenda, and it's not swimming or baseball.
That's just so weird. But I keep thinking back to 2008 when Arizona State University was in the same situation with their swimming and diving programs. They raised the money, and then the athletic director said, okay, you got the money, the team stays around, and look what's happening with it now. I mean, it's doing very well. So I hope that I know it's really hard to do, but I really hope you're staying optimistic that there's going to be a reversal in this decision.
I hope so too. I mean, I love Boise State. I'm staying for a year, and kind of going to see what happens in training with Catherine Case, and then I'm eventually going to transfer because I want to swim some more. But I just think the agenda here at Boise State is football and other things. So.
Yeah, that seems to be the main goal of every Division I school. But all that money for that football makes, it trickles down, and it really does help the other programs.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Spokane, Washington, which is just not too far from Boise, about 400 miles north. I'm sure being close to home was a big incentive to going to Boise State, but what else attracted you to want to be a part of not just the swim team, but also with the academics there?
Well, I went on a recruiting trip, and I got off the plane, and I was like, wow, this is where I want to be. Obviously the academics are great here. I was able to get a really nice academic scholarship as well, and I loved my academic advisor. I'm studying civil engineering, and that was a huge thing. Finding a civil engineering program that also has swimming and diving is really hard to do. So that attracted me a lot, and I absolutely fell in love with the coach. I love Christine. She's like my second mom. I love the team, and I loved everybody who was on staff, our athletic trainer, Riley Miller, our weights coach, Jared. Like, I just loved being a Bronco, and I love the idea of having such a small-ish community with all that there is to do is Bronco sports. Like, I mean, that's like Spokane. All there is to do is WSU, like WSU football games, WSU basketball games. Like, that's all there is to do in Boise. Like, we got Bronco sports, and I wanted to be a part of that.
And you're one of the few universities that just has women's only swimming and diving, no men's team there. Um, Kind of just give me your thoughts about how that affects the team environment with it just being a single gender team on campus.
I mean, I swam with boys my whole life. Spokane, Washington is very small for swimming. So, and I didn't have a lot of people to train with. So I mostly trained with boys for like 9 years when I was swimming up there. And so actually going to an all girls team was kind of appealing to me. I was kind of all done with all of them. But I think that the culture is just totally different. I mean, obviously one gender is completely different, and it's kind of nice to have a smaller, like not as many people on the team on deck at once. I think it also brings out bigger personalities. Like, I feel like I'm kind of half dude, and so were the rest of my teammates. So we brought out a lot of different personalities about racing, and I feel like we were a lot more competitive when it was just us, because I don't know, this is just what I liked and I observed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So your freshman year was very, very good. You set personal best in all your events, breaststroke, 200 IM. But what's really interesting, and I think a lot of listeners will be really intrigued by this, is you started out the season almost not being able to compete at all because you were dealing with some serious health issues involving your kidneys.
Yeah.
So tell us how you discovered that something just wasn't right with your kidneys. When did you find that out?
So I found out actually this weekend is the anniversary of my kidney issues. I woke up on Sunday, like after a long week of practice, and I was not feeling good. I told my athletic trainer on Saturday that I wasn't feeling good after practice, and she was like, "Okay, well, we'll take you to the doctors on Monday." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." Sunday morning, I woke up and I was like all swollen in the back, and I'm a pretty petite swimmer. I'm 5'10", I weigh like $150, so I not a whole lot of meat in that area, but I was all swollen and I could barely walk, and I was like very sick, like vomiting and stuff like that. And so I like got in the car with one of my really good friends, and he was going to take me to minor emergency. And I was like, well, you know, maybe I can shake this off. And my mom was like, let's just call the nurse hotline. Like, let's just call the nurse hotline. And she asked me to take my heart rate. And I was like, okay. And I told her my heart rate, and my heart rate was 154 beats per minute sitting in the car doing nothing.
Oh
And
my
being a
goodness.
swimmer, you know, my heart rate's around 60 all the time. So it's not very high. So I went to the emergency room. They found out that I had a UPJ obstruction. I had a major artery that is crossed over my ureter tube on my left kidney, and it had actually grown into it and pinched it off to where there was 100% blockage and no kidney function on my left side. And the crazy part is I had lived with it my entire life. So I had had it for 19 years, and I had just learned to live with it. But the second I went to Division I athletics, and you know, I had a huge lifestyle change, I just couldn't keep up.
Well, looking back on this in your life before you got to Boise State, were there any issues that you had where it was kind of you kind of just pushed it off as something else, but it may have been your kidneys kind of telling you something isn't exactly right?
Yeah, actually, I had pain in my left side my entire life. I wasn't able to drink caffeine, which makes sense because it hurts your kidneys. I wasn't able to process protein, so protein shakes hurt me a lot. I was a carb kid for sure. When I was a baby, they thought I had reflux because I would puke up everything that went in, but it was really just my tiny little kidneys couldn't process the all liquid diet. I stayed away from coffee, anything with bubbles in it. They hurt my side. So I guess I had like, and I never drank water either. That was the weirdest part, is I never drank water. Like, I would drink a bottle of water a day maybe, and that's terrible for an athlete.
Right.
but I had just learned to live with it my entire life. I thought it was normal for everybody to not drink a whole lot of water. So, but I had grown up with it my entire life, and 19 years of adaptation just engraved it into my head. I thought it was completely normal.
And then you realize how serious it was. How were you able, this is what's remarkable to me, how were you able to go from having 150 heart rate just sitting in the car and getting this diagnosis about your kidney to being able to get back in the water and compete in February at your conference meet?
Um, well, I spent 9 days in the hospital, and Meridian St. Luke's saved my life. Like they changed everything. And I sat down with Christine, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. She was like, no, we can do this. And we made a total game plan that was totally different than the game plan that we had at the beginning of the season. I was training 500 group. I was going to be a 4IMer. And she was like, no, we're going to wing it. We're going to be a sprinter this year. She didn't think my kidney and my body could handle the long distance training. So we didn't. We lifted more. We sprinted. I cut down my yardage completely, and it worked. It was awesome.
Yeah, when your coach says you have to cut back on yardage, you're not going to argue with that.
No, yeah. Well, and I don't think I could have held up, honestly. That once I moved to sprint group, it changed. Like I was just able to race more. I put on a whole lot of muscle, and I was feeling better, feeling stronger, and I just worked with what I had. In my head I was like, well, I mean, you went to D1 with one kidney, you can swim D1 with one kidney. So, and I just like had the end goal of I wanted to make Ohio. I wanted to go to national invite. I wanted to represent my team well. Like I didn't go through all of that to swim bad. Basically, that was what I told myself every morning.
So after that, I understand you had after the conference meet and all the season was over, you had a whole bunch of surgeries to get this all fixed.
Yeah, I had I'd say 4.5 surgeries in a month and a half. I had so I went back home, obviously, to my doctor, Dr. Lance, and I had a ureteral stent put in. And then 2 weeks later, I was in the emergency room with a huge infection. The UPJ obstruction had crushed the rubber stent, so it wasn't working at all. So we had to go back in there, and I had a metal rod placed inside, and that worked, and it put me on the schedule. So during COVID, my surgery wasn't emergent surgery until I had like the infection. So then once I had the metal rod placed, I was on the books for May 14th. I had my surgery, and I remember he said it was going to take an hour and a half. He was like, we're going to go in, we're going to cut the ureter tube, we're going to push the artery back. It's going to take an hour and a half. I woke up 3.5 hours later, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was screaming, and I was really upset. I was like, is my kidney still inside of me? I had no idea because I couldn't feel anything, and it was still in there, but apparently it was my major artery that runs down to your kidneys, and if they would have nicked it, I would have bled out on the table. So surgery took a lot longer than expected. And then 3 weeks after that, I had the ureteral stent removed, and that was about an hour-long surgery. And then 2 weeks after that, I had a scope done, and that was about a half an hour, and I was actually awake for that one. And so I have 5 incisions on my stomach, and the best part is the whole time I was training, I was in a backyard with the cord attached to me to a fence. So
Wow.
the only time I was ever out was for the 14 days where I had stitches in my stomach.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, to not only to be able to continue to exercise during that, but I have a feeling just mentally you were not going to just say to heed to any advice to just sit and just take it easy anyway.
No, I was determined to get an ESPN 30 for 30. That was my goal this year. I was gonna have all these surgeries, and then I was gonna kill it at conference, and then I wanted a 30 for 30.
Well, I think it could still happen. This is
Yeah.
It's really remarkable to hear how you were able to bounce back. And I'm sure it was just such a thrill at your conference meet and even at the invites to be able to turn around, look at the scoreboard and see best times in all your events.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then honestly, swimming after my kidneys fixed been amazing too. We had like a little a little inter squad meet back in Spokane. I was 3 weeks after surgery, and I went really good times. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what swimming with two working kidneys is like. This is great.
And you're
And
drinking more water, I hope.
a lot more water, and I'm able to process proteins correctly and iron correctly, and so I've been able to like hold weight on my body a lot easier, so that's great. I'm able to lift a lot more as well, and so I, nothing but up from here.
Yeah, welcome back to the real world.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good. And I understand you're actually, I know there's technically no swim team, but you're still in the pool in Boise training right now, right?
Yes. So I medical redshirted this year. Obviously, after all of that, I applied for medical redshirt, and I'm hoping the NCAA is going to give that to me. I think they should, after all
Yes.
that. But I'm training a year here with Catherine Case, and we're all online after Thanksgiving. So I'm actually going to go home and train with my coach Christine, who is the coach for Whitworth University now, so that's going to be great. And then I'm hoping to transfer after a year to somewhere where I can swim for 3 more years.
So Catherine Case is up in Boise. She's the Olympic head coach for the U.S. open water swim team. That's
Yes,
a big, big thing for you to be able to get some knowledge and wisdom from Catherine.
it's awesome. We've had her for about 3 weeks now, and she's awesome. I love her so much. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of water time because obviously COVID, and no team in the country has a whole lot of water time. But the 10 hours I get to spend with her is awesome, and I can't wait to see what she can do with a breaststroker.
I think she could work some pretty big wonders. She's done some amazing things in her career.
Yeah.
So just to go back to Boise State swimming and diving as a whole, one thing that really sticks out for me is the fact that the women's swimming and diving team was named to the, I believe the acronym is the CSCAA, the College Swim Coaches Association of America's All-American Academic List for, get this, 19 semesters in a row. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
I mean, we have a high standard of academics here, and it's not like everybody on my team was a communications major or a business major or some of the easier majors. We have nurses, I'm civil engineering, political science, we have teachers on our team, we have public health, we have so many diverse majors. We have mechanical engineering, we have a girl on our team wanted to make prosthetic arms for people. Like we had a 3.76 grade point average with future doctors on the team. So I think that's something to be really proud of.
Absolutely. You should definitely, that is something that no athletic department can ever take away from you, that the team was so successful for all these years. And I know that obviously it's still going to continue, but how does it feel when, even though you're back in the water now and you're virtually in school? Obviously this whole year has just been a big shakeup, but knowing that right now you're training for something that's still kind of ephemeral, you don't know if it's going to happen. How are you taking this day to day?
Um, I had a big reality check in October, so I think it's really, I've been taking a day to day since October. We're not promised every day. I learned that in October. I had a perfect life growing up, and then, I hit rock bottom's basement, and I didn't know that was possible, but I totally did. So taking it day by day was something I had to learn last year, and so I think I'm pretty good at it right now. But I'm just happy to be swimming, to be lifting, to be where I want to be in Boise, to have my classes, to have this stability in such a like unstable time for everybody in the country.
Right. So you mentioned that you tried to raise money and the athletic department, the school basically shut you down on that. How can people out there lend their support to help convince the university that Boise State should have its women's swimming and diving program back?
Well, I mean, Boise State brought baseball back after it was like 50 years or something like that. So I think with the support of the community and obviously COVID-19 going away, I think that will help. I think potentially raising enough money to build a new pool or a new Olympic training center that has like tennis courts and kind of like knocking down some of the older athletic department buildings, like, and kind of creating one big one would be awesome. I think just the community, saying our names and like recognizing our faces and, wearing our t-shirts or something like that would really make a huge impact. I mean, everybody knows volleyball, everybody knows basketball, but not everybody knows swimming and diving. And that's just the nature of the sport. And I honestly think if the Olympics were happening this year, swimming programs wouldn't be cut, because where does America win all the medals? In swimming. So,
In
and
swimming, and
everybody wants to,
they're fostered from the college teams.
yeah, everybody wants to be a swimmer after they watch the Olympics. So
Right,
I think the country, like, obviously with the Olympics happening this year, swim programs aren't going to leave next year because everybody wants to be a swimmer. That's where all the hype is in the Olympics. So I think it was a combination of everything, but I think there's a chance that Boise State could bring swimming and diving back, and maybe my kid can swim here or something like that.
Right. Well, your positivity is infectious, Delaney. I really am feeling the positivity, and I'm very positive that there will be a turnaround. When that's going to be, I don't know, and I know you don't know, but the positive thoughts are really going to help. And thank you very much for sharing your story and the story of what you're doing to keep Boise State swimming and diving active. And we look forward to hearing some good, positive news about it in the future.
Me too. Thank you so much.
All right. So if you'd like to show your support for saving Boise State swimming and diving teams, like Delaney said, just show your support. Send a letter to the athletic department. Send a letter to the president. Do what you can to really save swimming and diving. Across the country, it really needs to be done. And thank you very much to everybody for joining us on the journey. As we always say, it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey.